So I am an MSW. So I have a master's in social work, is what that means. I was trained to be a therapist. I am supposed to be a therapist, but then I thought, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to be a musician. And my parents were thrilled, as you can imagine. But they're very supportive now. But I still love psychology. All right. And so I get lots of questions about emotions and music. So, for example, on Instagram, someone asked me recently, how do you make tragic music? All right. The question was, I know how to make sad music, but whenever I try to make it tragic, there's just, for some reason, it doesn't work. It just sounds sad. It doesn't sound big and huge and epic. And the reason behind that is because tragic and sad are two different emotions. They're both negative and they're both closely related. But sadness, and you could even say grief if you wanted to, has a lower energy level. So if you have lower music, that is the synth, not the piano. Sorry about that. Let's go to the piano. So if you've got kind of sad music, if Cubase will play. That sounded a bit darker. Yeah, like the nice kind of quiet minor harmonies. You can create a very sad sound very simply. But when you want to make it tragic, tragic is a much larger, higher energy experience. Tragedy has the same kind of negative and sad qualities, but it is experienced on a much larger and grander scale. So if you want to take sad music and turn it into tragic music, you need to mimic that shift in energy. So it's going to be very difficult to do it on a piano, especially since I'm not a piano player. But if we take that same similar chord progression, so A minor, E minor, and then A F major, then A minor, we had just kind of a simple, kind of low energy. This is kind of a sad, ruminating kind of feel. If we add a little bit more energy, it starts to become a little more tragic. All right, and I'm just kind of improvising, but you can see how those had different emotional feels. They were both the same exact chord progression, but one had more energy. Therefore, it was a little larger. It was more tragic. And if we were to do that in like an arrangement, this initial one would work very well with intimate strings. And then if I can play the right chords, very kind of intimate strings. You can think of like a string adagio going on. Whereas you can kind of imagine this other one is having a lot more brass and like the kind of like the same exact chord progression, just a larger scale. And so I'm sorry, I'm starting to get off tangent because now I just, you can see how much I get excited about this concept, about the idea of music and energy. And so according to kind of this model of viewing emotions, the idea is it's not enough to think about how the emotional expression of like negativity versus positivity is at play, but you also have to keep in mind the energy level. And then you have to consider like, well, how is that energy being experienced? Is it outward? Is it an inward expression? What's kind of going on? There's all kinds of aspects of an emotion you can kind of consider and then think of the musical equivalent of it. So I hope that was interesting to you as much as it is for me. Let's see, questions. Let's see here, because I am